today. As you can see on the board, there is no lateral area of a sphere because there are no bases. What is that? Why? You found it. Convenient. Oh my word. Anyway, so there is a surface area, right? The whole surface of the sphere, surface area of a sphere, and there is a volume. What could you fit inside that sphere? So that's what we're going to be doing today is the surface area and the volume formulas. A sphere is pretty much take a circle and make it three-dimensional. The way we usually draw that is like this. In a circle like this, you will still have a diameter. That diameter has to go through the center of the sphere. So this circle that you're seeing here, we'll make it red for now. This part, we call that a great circle. And the great circle is just the circle that basically cuts the sphere into two equal hemispheres, okay? How many baseball players in the room? Softball, baseball, softball. Okay, so when you think about the way the stitching is on a ball, right? If we were to open that up, basically what you have is a piece that goes like this and a piece that goes, like this, right? Kind of looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 circles, right? So the way we find the surface area of that sphere, once we open up the stitching on the ball and just looked at those two pieces, those 4 circles, the area of them would be what? The area of the circle times 4, okay? So the formula we're going to use for surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r squared. Okay, that's your surface area formula. So just think of it as 4 circles, 4 pi r squared. So if I gave you this sphere, this will be our example 1. Okay, here's our sphere, and I give you a diameter of 8 meters. And I say, find the surface area of that sphere. What do? 4 pi 4 squared, right? If you're at the diameter of 8, that means your radius is going to be 4, so 4 pi times 4 squared. And then if we're going to leave that in terms of pi, you're taking 4 times 16. So your surface area would be 64 pi. How do I label it? Squared, right? It's area. So this one's surface area. You do meters squared. And the thing about today's lesson, this is the first lesson we have where we're doing area and volume together. So make sure you're paying attention to, is it the volume I'm finding or is it the area I'm finding, and label it appropriately, okay? So 64 pi square meters. Questions on that? Pretty straightforward, right? All right, second one. It says Earth's equator, which is essentially a great circle. Although Earth is not a sphere, right? It's a, yes, I get that every year. Earth's not a sphere, it's an oblate, how do you say it? Oblate spheroid. Or what? Flattened sphere. Oh, I've not heard that one before. All right, 24,902 miles is the distance of Earth's equator. We're going to try to find the surface area knowing that. So how could we find the surface area of Earth if the equator is 24,902? What does this number represent? What of the circle? Not the diameter. The circumference, right? So this is the circumference of the great circle, 24,902. What's the formula for circumference? Pi d. So if circumference is pi d, we can find the diameter by saying 24,902 equals pi d. How do I solve for d? Divide by pi. So you're going to divide by pi on both sides. So if you do that, 24,902 divided by pi comes out to this number, which is a rounded number, 7926.552, we'll call it. So that's your diameter. How do we find surface area? You have to cut that in half because you need a radius for surface area, right? So if I take that number and cut it in half, divide by 2, I get a radius of approximately 3,963.276 miles. Okay, so that's the radius of the great circle of Earth. Okay? How do I find the surface area? Pi times what? Pi times that number squared times 4, right? 4 pi r squared. So we're going to go 4 times pi times 3,963.276 squared. Okay, 4 pi r squared. Now, that's going to make a really big number for you. That comes out to approximately this number, 197,387,000. That's a 3, sorry. 18.2, we'll say. So if they said round this to the nearest 100,000 square miles, what number is that? To the nearest 100,000. 1. Do I put a 9? Yes. Do I put a 7? Do I put a 3? 4, right? That 3 is going to round up to a 4. Oops. Okay, so to the nearest 100,000 square miles, the surface area of Earth is 197,400 square miles. That's a whole lot of surface area. Questions on that? So just keep in mind, you need a radius. So figure out, how do I find a radius? I find the circumference, or take the circumference, plug it into the circumference formula, and call it good. The other thing you could have done at the beginning is set it equal to 2 pi r instead of pi d, and then just divided one time by 2 pi. But if you divide by 2 pi, make sure you put parentheses around the 2 pi, because your calculator is going to think you're dividing by 2 and then multiplying the whole thing by pi, and that's not what we want to do. So just be careful with that. I'm going to show you in a little bit where that really comes into play, where you have to be a little bit careful with it. But that is surface area, okay? Volume. This one, your formula is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, so this one you're cubing. Volume is cubed, your radius is cubed. Keep that together, okay? So if I asked you, you good? Yeah? No, I know. That's why I'm saying, do you understand? You're good? Oh, yeah. We get it? Okay. Okay, so let's say we have a sphere with a radius of 6. Not my best work, sorry guys. So if I want to know the volume of that sphere, this is real quick and simple, right? We're given the radius, we need the radius, so all you have to do right now is plug that number in. So you're going to do 4/3 times pi times 6 cubed. If we leave it in terms of pi, you're going to do 4 divided by 3 times 6 cubed, leave the pi out of it. So you get, as an exact answer, 288. Then attach your pi, and how do I label this? Meters cubed, right? This is volume now, so you got to cube it. Okay? If they gave me a diameter, what's the difference? What would I have to do differently? Just cut it in half and then plug that number in. Okay? Questions on that? All right. Then, my dentist is calling. Then what you're going to do is this type of problem. And this is the one, if you haven't checked in yet today, check in right now, okay? Because this one requires, not that it's so difficult of a problem, but it requires a button on your calculator that you probably haven't touched for a very long time. And the way you plug it in matters big time. So if you have a calculator, get your calculator out. And we're going to walk through this together and make sure you're plugging it in the right way. All right, example 4. This one we're going to use the volume to find surface area. Okay, so they're starting us with volume. We're going to find surface area. So if they tell us the volume of a sphere is 5,000 cubic meters. Okay, and they say, what's your surface area? We have to figure out, how do we get there? Okay, so volume formula is 4/3 pi r cubed. Surface area formula is 4 pi r squared. What do they have in common? Yeah, I mean, there's a 4 in there, but it's not really the number, like it's 4 versus 4/3, right? The what? There's pi r, one's squared, one's cubed. So they both have a pi. They both have a radius, right? In order for us to go from volume to surface area, we need a radius because that's our unknown in both of them. That's our variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to set it equal to the volume formula. So 5,000, what's our volume formula? 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. Okay, now here's the deal. I'm going to show you a way to do this. There are many ways to do this. So I'm going to just tell you right now your options, but I'm going to walk you through one so that I don't confuse you with walking you through 5 different ways and then you try to do all 5 ways, okay? One option for this is to solve it one piece at a time because we need to isolate the r, right? We want r by itself. So you could multiply both sides by 3. Okay, and then once you multiplied both sides by 3, you know what? I'm going to show you this one because sometimes I'm going to show you 2 ways. Okay, your first way is this. You could multiply by 3 on both sides. This is not the quick way, by the way. This is the, if you need to just break it down way. The quick way is you're going to plug the whole thing in one time into your calculator. But if you want to break it down one piece at a time because you're not sure you'll plug it in the right way, this is what you would do. Okay, so you would get 15,000 equals 4 pi r cubed. What would you do next? Divide by 4 or divide by 4 pi. Okay, if you divide by 4 pi, you have to use parentheses. So if you're going to worry about plugging it in wrong, let's just divide by 4. So you get 15,000 divided by 4 is 3,750 equals pi r cubed. Then what would you do to get r by itself? We're going to divide by pi now. okay? So 3750 divided by pi, you get, yikes, sorry, r cubed equals 1,193.662 or so, okay? Now here's where the new button comes in, or a button that you maybe just haven't touched for a while. How do you get r right now? If r is cubed, how do you reverse that? Do you know what that's called? It's like a square root, but it's a cube root, okay? You cannot use the square root button. It won't work. What you have to use is the cube root button. Most of you on your calculator probably have that key, where it's x, the radical y. Some of you, if you have these ones, will have the actual cube root button. Both of those work just fine. It's just a matter of what you have. So find on your calculator what you have. If you have the graphing calculator, to get to the cube root, you have to hit I thought it was in math. No, I know it's in math. Oh, duh. If you have this calculator, you hit math and it's number 4. Or you could do number 5 and then you have to put the 3 in. But the rest of you, I believe it's right above or right below your square root button. Is that right? If you can't find it, let me know, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take the cube root of that, and you should get as your radius approximately 608, we'll call it. Okay, so that's one way you can get to your radius. We're going to pause there, and I'm going to show you the other way you could get to your radius, and then we'll finish the problem, okay? Because this is not the end of the problem. We want to find surface area. But if you did it, if you want to do it the other way, the just plug it into your calculator way, okay? We have 5,000 equals 4/3 pi r cubed, okay? To get rid of a fraction in math, do you know what you do with it? You multiply by the reciprocal. You flip it, right? So you kind of have to think of this as 5,000 equals 4 pi over 3 times the radius cubed. And then we're going to multiply by 3 over 4 pi. Okay, so that will cancel all this. And then multiply here by 3 over 4 pi. Okay? Then you'd have to cube root that whole thing. Okay, so essentially what I would plug into the calculator is this. I'm going to flip the order of these. I just didn't have room on the other side. But I would go 5,000. If your calculator starts a parenthesis there, great. If it doesn't, you're going to want to start a parenthesis there because you want the whole thing cube rooted, not just the 5,000. Okay? So you would go parentheses 5,000 times 3 divided by, and then put parentheses around this again, 4 pi. And that, you don't really have to finish off your parentheses, but if you want to finish off all your parentheses, it would look like that. So if you want to plug it in one time, that's what you need to plug in. Plug that in and see if you get the 10.608. If you don't, something isn't right. So it's up to you how you want to do it. The break it down one step at a time way, or plug it all in one time. Just make sure your parentheses are in the right place if you do it that way, okay? How are we doing? Yeah.
How do you get the cube thing?
Oh, yes, sorry. Those of you that don't have the 3 in front, you need to put 3. So you're going to plug it in like this. 3, then hit this button, then do your 5,000. Actually, sorry, then a parenthesis, then 5,000, then 3 divided by, then 4 pi, and that should get it for you. Thank you, Mackenzie. Okay, so if you have this button, this x square root y button, make sure you put the 3 out in front. That's what will cube root it for you. Okay, and if you're not getting that, I will come show you in just a minute. Okay, let's finish the problem. We are looking for surface area, and we found a radius of 10.608. So now it's very simple. 4 times pi times 10.608, squared or cubed? Squared. For surface area, you're squaring. So you would plug that in, and you get a surface area. If we round to the nearest whole number, it comes out to 1,414, and we were in meters, so that would be meters squared. Okay, so it sounded like a ton of work, but just keep in mind I did the work twice. So pick the one that makes more sense to you, do it that way, and then it's fairly quick. Any questions on that? All right.